Ever feel like getting your head around hosting options is like learning a whole secret language?
Definitely. It can be pretty complex.
Well, today we're aiming to crack that code. We're focusing specifically on one approach called VPS hosting.
That's right.
Welcome to the deep dive. We take a bunch of information like we have today and try to pull out the really crucial stuff for you.
Mhm.
So we've got two main sources. One gives us a general overview, the lay of the land, for a platform called Xuda,
Okay.
and the other one really digs into their virtual private server that's VPS hosting plans.
Got it. So the big picture and then the specific VPS details.
Exactly. And our mission, if you will, is to figure out what VPS hosting on Xuda is all about and, why it might actually matter for your projects.
Yeah, not just the specs, but the real value, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean for someone building or running an application?
Precisely.
So maybe before we jump straight into the VPS details, we should get a handle on Xuda itself. What is this platform?
Good idea. Let's unpack that first. So from what we've gathered, Xuda positions itself as a pretty comprehensive platform.
Right.
For building and launching applications. Think of it like a central hub.
A hub, right.
It brings together these things they call orchestration tools.
Which sounds complicated, but think of them like traffic controllers for your app's different parts.
Exactly, making sure everything works together smoothly. And it combines those tools with a marketplace.
Ah, the marketplace. That sounds important.
Yeah, it seems like a big deal, offering ready-made apps, tools, plugins, that sort of thing.
So the idea is to speed things up, make development and deployment less of a headache.
That seems to be the core goal, yeah. Get your projects live faster without loads of hassle.
And it sounds flexible, too. The sources mention different ways to deploy things.
Right. They talk about secure apps for specific user groups, PWAs.
Progressive web apps, like websites that feel like phone apps.
Yeah, those,
Yeah.
and regular public websites, obviously. But also building and managing native iOS and Android apps, too.
So quite a range of possibilities there. It's not just for websites.
Seems like it. And underpinning all this is a global network of data centers.
Okay, that's key for hosting.
Definitely. Having these data centers dotted around the world means, you can place your app servers closer to where your users actually are.
Which usually means faster loading times,
Yeah.
better experience.
Exactly. Lower latency, smoother interaction.
Like local delivery hubs instead of one big central warehouse far away. Makes sense. And they mentioned something about an enterprise version.
Oh, yeah. For bigger organizations, maybe with stricter security needs, there's a branded enterprise version.
And that can run locally on their own network.
Apparently, yeah. So they get maximum control, but still use the Xuda tools.
Interesting. So the Xuda is this kind of underlying engine, lots of tools, different deployment options, and hosting is a key part of that.
Right. And specifically, the type of hosting we're diving into today, virtual private server hosting.
Okay, let's focus in on that. Visa's VPS offering.
So within this whole Xuda ecosystem, they offer VPS hosting. And the key word here, based on our sources, seems to be isolation.
Isolation.
Yeah.
What does that mean in practice?
It means you get your own dedicated resources, your own slice of the pie, basically. CPU power, memory, storage, it's allocated just for you.
So you're not sharing those specific resources with other users on the same physical machine.
Exactly. It's less like sharing a big open plan office and more like having your own private office within the building.
Okay, I get it. And that isolation is a big deal for performance and reliability, all right?
That's what the sources emphasize. Unlike, say, basic shared hosting where noisy neighbors can slow you down.
Right. Someone else's busy website could impact yours.
With a VPS, it should be much more stable, more predictable performance because those resources are yours alone.
And you mentioned dedicated resources. Does that mean you can choose how much you get?
Yes, that seems to be a major benefit highlighted. Customization. You're not just lumped into like small, medium, large packages.
You can pick and choose.
Apparently. Choose the specific amount of CPU, memory, storage that actually fits what your project needs.
That's flexible. So if you need lots of processing power, but not much storage, or vice versa.
You can tailor it. And just like the main platform, this VPS hosting uses that global data center network.
So you can spin up your VPS in London or Tokyo or wherever your users are.
Exactly. Deploy it close to your audience for that better speed and responsiveness we talked about.
Makes sense. And that isolation probably helps with security too, I'd imagine.
That's another point they make. Because your environment is self-contained, you're less exposed if another user on the same physical server has some kind of security issue.
Right. It contains the blast radius, so to speak.
Kind of, yeah. Now let's shift gears a bit. Something always important,
Yes.
cost.
Ah, yes, the budget. How does Xuda's VPS stack up there? The sources suggest it's meant to be cost-effective.
That's the angle they seem to take. A big part of this is a pay-as-you-go model.
Okay, so you only pay for what you actually consume.
That seems to be the idea. Build for the resources you use, not necessarily a flat fee for a block you might not fully utilize.
That could be really good for projects where demand fluctuates, right? You're not paying for idle capacity all the time.
Exactly. And they also mention affordable entry plans.
Aimed at who? Startups, smaller projects.
Seems like it. Making VPS, which can sometimes seem like a bigger step up, more accessible, even if you're just starting out or have a tighter budget.
Opening it up a bit more. That's good.
Plus, there's this concept of resource efficiency. They talk about advanced caching and optimization built in.
What does that mean practically? Better performance for less money.
That's the implication, that maybe you can get more bang for your buck performance-wise without just throwing more raw resources at it constantly.
Smarter resource use.
Yeah,
Saves time and money, potentially. That sounds pretty useful.
definitely.
Now, the sources also mention something specific about CPU options. Not just picking the amount, but different types of CPU.
Yeah, exactly. Different CPU packages tailored to different needs.
Okay, like what?
Well, there's a standard performance option for, basic websites, maybe moderate traffic, things that don't need huge processing power.
Your everyday kind of workload.
Right. Then they have high performance packages,
And those are for.
more intensive stuff. The sources mention things like AI, machine learning computations, or running really large, busy databases.
Okay, so tasks that really crunch numbers or handle lots of data transactions.
Seems so. And then there's a third type which sounded interesting, burstable CPUs.
Burst stable. What does that do?
The idea seems to be for apps that are usually pretty steady, but sometimes get sudden spikes in demand.
Like a flash sale on an e-commerce site or a blog post going viral.
Exactly that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You get a baseline CPU level, but it can temporarily allocate more power to handle those peaks.
So you don't have to pay for that peak capacity all the time, only when you need it.
That seems to be the benefit. Managing costs, but still handling the surges.
That's quite clever. Shows they've thought about different usage patterns.
It does suggest a level of flexibility there. Now, beyond just the core resources like CPU and RAM, it looks like Xuda bundles in quite a few extra features with all their hosting plans.
Oh, really? Like what sort of things?
Yeah.
These often add a lot of value.
Totally. First up, automatic backups.
Okay, table stakes nowadays, but absolutely essential.
You really need that safety net, right? Knowing your data is backed up regularly for recovery.
Peace of mind, definitely.
What else?
Built-in load balancers.
Okay. So if you expect decent traffic, these help spread it out.
Yeah, it distributes the incoming requests across multiple servers or instances of your app. Prevents one from getting overloaded.
Keeps things running smoothly and improves uptime. Crucial for anything popular,
Definitely. And then there's robust security.
which covers usually things like firewalls.
Firewalls, yes.
Yeah.
Also DDoS protection, that's distributed denial of service.
Right, protecting against those malicious traffic floods that try to knock sites offline.
Exactly. And encryption is mentioned too for protecting data in transit. Standard security measures, but good to know they're included.
Mm-hmm. They also talk about data replication across multiple data centers.
Okay, so copies of your data in different physical locations.
Seems like it. Which is great for reliability. If one center has an issue, your app can potentially keep running from another.
High availability. And potentially faster access for users near those other centers too.
Yeah, that's often a side benefit. And finally, they list scalable architecture.
Which just means it's easy to add or remove resources. CPU, RAM, storage.
Pretty much. The ability to scale up easily as your application grows, or even scale down if needed, without major hassle or downtime.
Fundamental for anything you expect to grow over time. You don't want to get locked in or face difficult migrations later.
No, definitely not. So with all that, the resources, the features,
Yeah.
who is this actually for? Who benefits most from Xuda's VPS?
Well, the sources seem to suggest it's pretty versatile. They highlight a few groups. Startups, for instance.
Because of the affordable entry plans and scalability?
Exactly. Lower initial cost, ability to grow as the business does, without needing a huge upfront investment in hardware.
Makes sense. Who else?
Enterprises. Larger companies.
Why them?
Well, the dedicated resources, the security features we talked about, the reliability aspects like data replication and load balancing,
Yeah.
that's all crucial for mission-critical applications.
Right. Things that absolutely have to stay online and perform well.
Precisely. And they also mentioned developers.
How does it help developers specifically?
It seems to be the combination of the flexible VPS plans with those integrated tools and the marketplace we discussed earlier, all within the main Xuda platform.
Ah, so it potentially simplifies their whole workflow, from coding to testing to deploying.
That seems to be the idea, making the infrastructure part easier so they can focus more on building the actual application.
Okay, so it sounds like it caters to quite a broad spectrum.
It does seem that way.
So if we were to sort of boil it all down, what are the main takeaways? The key reason someone might choose Gouda for VPS hosting, based on our dive.
Okay, let's summarize. First, uh, reliability. They seem to emphasize high uptime and features that support that.
Right. Uptime guarantees are usually important.
Second, flexibility. Those scalable plans, the customizable resources, the different CPU options, it gives you choices.
Adaptable to different needs. Got it.
Third, that global reach, using their worldwide data centers to get your application closer to users for better performance.
Lower latency. Yep.
And finally, ease of use. Mention of a user-friendly dashboard for managing everything, simplifying server administration.
Which can definitely be complex otherwise. Okay.
So reliability, flexibility, global reach, and ease of use seem to be the core pillars of their VPS offering.
It sounds like overall, Xuda's VPS hosting aims to offer a pretty potent combination then. Power, adaptability, that global presence.
All wrapped up in a platform that's also trying to streamline the rest of the app development lifecycle.
Giving you that control and performance of a dedicated environment, like you said, but maybe without some of the headaches of managing bare metal hardware yourself.
That seems to be the value proposition. Yeah, control without all the low-level complexity.
Right. So thinking about all that, the customization you get with VPS, especially in a platform like Xuda that bundles in the marketplace, the global network, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, what new possibilities could that kind of setup unlock for your own projects, whether they're running now or just ideas you're kicking around?
Hmm. That's a really interesting question to ponder. How could that specific combination change what you build or how you build it?
Exactly. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.